Welcome to Creative Conversations. I'm Roger Humphrey. In this episode, I'm pleased to welcome painter, sculptor, and illustrator Pamela Gleave. Please join us as we talk about her work and the various processes she uses. Before we begin, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It's an easy thing to do, and it really helps a lot. Thanks. And we are welcoming Pam Gleave to the show. Hi, Pam. Nice to see you.
Oh, it was nice to see you too, Roger. Thanks for having me back.
Oh yeah, it's an honor for me. The goal of this podcast basically is to put a spotlight on people in fine arts, whether it's art or photography, literature, music, anything like that. And I just feel like we've been sort of getting pushed into the shadows over the last few years, and so I'm here to scream out loud. Not that anybody listens to an old man screaming, but so you are a painter and a photographer and an illustrator. You do all kinds of cool stuff.
Sculptor.
Oh, yeah, I miss that. Thanks.
I do. I'm a jack of all trades, and you know the rest.
But it's, I don't know. I mean, that would suggest that maybe you're not very good at any of them, and quite frankly, you're very good at all of them. I mean, I was looking at your illustrations last night before we started, and I was just stunned at just how beautiful these illustrations are. Can we talk a little bit about that? How'd you get involved in that?
I went to Olivet College or now University of Olivet,
Uh-huh.
and my favorite class was biological illustration with Cindy Eller. And then I was learning how to illustrate that way. But then I did a lot of biology classes too. And I got interested in insects, mainly moths. And I did a grant-funded research project at Pierce Cedar Creek collecting moths at night.
What is Pierce Cedar Creek? I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt.
It's a biological field station. It's got like, I think, 800 acres. It's
Okay.
over by Hastings.
Okay, thank you. I just
That's
clarify
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, continue. I'm
And
sorry.
yeah, I would string a sheet across the trail there and put a light up, and they come in when you put a light. You have to use a mercury vapor lamp, and they can see that. So then they come right in there and get those. I would also bait some of the tree trunks with rotten old banana, soupy banana, and they loved that. They would get drunk on it, and that I could just walk up. They would fall backwards right into my jar. So that was the most fun I'd had all that year.
Drunken
And
Moths.
now,
That sounds like a name for a rock and roll band, but
doesn't it? Yeah. Some of them are so beautiful, and people don't realize how beautiful moths are because they're all out at night, and people
Right.
don't go out at night much. But then I would bring them home and paint them. And so I got into doing the illustrations with the moths by way of the moths.
And your illustrations are being utilized, I'm assuming?
Utilized?
Published? Are they being published or
No,
utilized?
I frame them and people buy them.
Gotcha. Okay, so that purely is artwork as opposed to industrial purposes.
Fine art, yeah. Fine art illustrations, yeah.
But they are gorgeous. I mean, it's just absolutely stunning. It must take hours to complete something like that.
Or days or weeks, yeah. I have to
Shows you what I know.
I have to use the very tiny little brushes with two hairs on them,
Oh wow, yeah. No,
because I have to do I'm compelled to do them accurately. And So
That
that
shows
takes
because when I
a
first
lot.
saw them, I thought they were photographs.
Yeah, people will, when I have them in a show or something, people will come up and tip their head and try to look behind because they think it's a real butterfly.
It must be
That's
kind of
that's
gratifying
my,
also.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's my best compliment is that.
That's
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, yeah. It is. Of course, then I'll do all insects. Started a master's program at University of Nebraska, Lincoln, and the first class I took was natural history and identification of insects. So I got interested in beetles. Beetles are beautiful too. There are some gorgeous beetles. And dragonflies. I like to do dragonflies because they're
They're
ain't they're
majestic. They're just,
they
we
are, yeah. I was trying to think of a word. That's a good word. Yeah,
we have
they
a
are. They're
we have
elegant.
a summer cottage in northern Michigan, and sometimes it's a small lake. There's no hardly any boats on it. It's very quiet and peaceful up there, I can just go down and sit by the lake, and the dragonflies are all over the place. I could watch them for hours. I mean, it's better entertainment than television. It's gorgeous.
It is, especially when you know what they're doing. The males will jealously guard their territory. They have territory and they'll sit on top of a piece of, a water plant or something and watch. And if anybody comes in their territory, they are on it. They're chasing them all
I
out of
had no
there.
idea. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. And the females will come when they lay eggs in the water and they'll come down and dip and hit the water and take off again. And they had just laid eggs or an egg. I don't know if they do one or two or multiple, but it's fun when it's more fun when you know why they're doing what they do, animals.
Dragonfly soap opera. I love it.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
I can imagine that would be. So some of the art things that I also noticed, you've got a lovely website, and I was just kind of tromping around in there the other day,
sure, sure.
and looking at stuff. And so we'll talk, if we can, a little bit about the landscapes too, because that's a completely different technique of painting. I mean, you're really jumping there a little bit.
I know I have a hard time with that because I want to do little details, and with landscapes, it's better if you just make it loose,
Uh-huh.
My nephew, Adam Thomas, lives in Chicago. He's an artist down there, and he was telling me that there's a gallery. I had a gallery down there, and she closed, and they were selling quite a bit of my stuff out of there, and I was not very happy. They had sold paint a picture of mine to set designer, two pictures to set designers for the TV show Chicago Fire.
Oh,
One
cool.
went there. So that hung over somebody's fireplace. And then another one on an HBO series called Boss with
Okay.
Kelsey Grammer. They bought one, but since she had to close, and so now I'm hunting another gallery down there, and my nephew, who shows all around down there, um, told me to start doing landscapes because that's what they wanted. And I said, okay, but I'm not doing your traditional, trees and grass and all that. I'm gonna do something different. So I've been doing different um, kinds of landscapes that I see that move me.
Okay,
Yeah,
like what,
hopefully.
for example.
There's one on my website. It's snow. It looks like pretty deep snow. And then there was a running water, like a creek or something, and it was still and reflected the pine trees that were up behind it.
Okay.
And I really like that. I I was kind of into snow for some reason, and then I thought, nobody's gonna buy that. Who wants a picture of snow on their wall all the time? But there's that one, and there's another one of a large body of water, and the sun is right on the horizon, and there's smoke or fog, smoke and fog coming across. So it's all, the sun is just shining through it. And I named that one Canadian Fires because the sun was a deep, deep orange when it was going down. But it looks like smoke and fog going across. And
Well, you had
it's just, go
you
ahead.
you had the one that has the cats in it that kind of struck
Oh
me.
yeah,
They're very
I like
very whimsical, as they say.
sort of, yeah. Did you read what it said on it?
I didn't. I just
Could
kind of was
you do that?
breezing through. Huh?
Oh, okay. It's I just painted a cat on there and he was looking up at the moon and it's a long, tall painting. It's
Uh-huh.
like I can't remember how long it is, how tall it is. And he's got his back to you looking up at the moon. And then I thought I need something more than that. So I put another cat looking down into the water because they're sitting at the edge of the water, like almost like on a dock or something. And the other cat is turned facing you, looking down into the reflection of the moon. And on the over to the side it says, see the oh no, see the see the magic, not the illusion.
That's kind of
Yeah,
cool. But
yeah,
I
that
like
just
that.
sort of developed out of one cat looking at the moon. So I kind of like that one, but I just made that one up in my head.
Well, I was struck by the just the complete difference in styles, and I've not met too many
Yep.
painters who can literally work in two completely different styles like that. I mean, they have a way of painting, and that's the way they paint, and
I
it's
know.
such a contrast. It's almost like two different people.
Right. And that galleries want to see you paint the same thing in the same way. And I just can't. It depends on what I'm painting, how I paint. And it just that's just the way I work.
And I had
My
noticed.
sculpt
Go ahead. I'm sorry, please.
my sculptures are realistic with details. And I would kind of like to, I just kind of would like to back off from the real hyper realistic, and I don't do hyper real, but I do realistic. And I would like to get looser, and that's why started with the oil painting because oil painting is a lot easier to do loosely than
Ah,
the the insects I paint with gouache, which is a type of watercolor that's thick like oil paint.
oh,
Yeah, it's not thin and watery like regular watercolor. So
well, it's just like I
that's
say.
why it was
Go ahead.
that's why it was easier to switch from the insects and the gouache over to the oil because they kind of handle the same. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, it's just it now with the insect. If you're doing an insect dragonfly or something, it's very detailed, and you pretty much once it's done, it's done. But with the landscape, the few painters that I've spoken to, and it hasn't been many, it just seems like you're never really done. You're just sort of tired of it, and you get away, walk away from it. Is that about right?
Yep. And I pick and pick and pick and I go and I sit there. Well, I shouldn't do this, but I hang the picture up in front of me where I'm sitting in my chair and then I go, oh, that needs to be changed. Or oh, I need to add, something to that. And so I pick until somebody takes it away from me, and then it's done then.
That's hilarious. Well, I can appreciate needing perspective to be able to stand back and take a look at it because sometimes you get a little too close to your projects and just
Yes, you do. Yeah. I have to
I
leave them for sometimes before I can go back and sometimes months even.
I do that when I record music, which I haven't done lately, but I mean, what recordings I do now are I just crank things out for my students, but they're not really commercial quality.
Mhm.
But I would
Mm.
do something, and I didn't even want to hear it for 2 or 3 days. I didn't want, once
Right.
it's done, once we thought it was done, I say, okay, we'll come back to it in a few days, and go back to the studio, and we would sit down and listen to it. And sometimes and also in one of the privileges that I had was a friend of mine who's a wonderful musician, was also my engineer, and I talked him into being the producer too, which meant that I had another pair of very very high quality ears that could listen to stuff. And it was funny because there would be times when I'd say, "Oh, that's pretty good." You go, I think you could do better." Okay.
Fine. Okay, fine.
Whatever. Like a
Whatever.
14-year-old.
Yeah, yeah.
But what came, I wouldn't have done that to myself. My work ethic isn't, well, I needed the extra pair of ears just to hear it, just for somebody,
Sure.
because I might have noticed it tomorrow or the next day or next week, but this was immediate feedback. I think you could do it better. And so we would continue working until we got a take that we both liked. And and he was always fair. I mean, he had great ears. He was never number one, he was never rude. That's just not his style. But he never really criticized so much as he suggested. And let's try this a
Yeah, that's
little differently and try that a little differently. So, but when you're a
right.
painter, or if I were a composer, you're there on your own, baby.
Yeah, that's right. And nobody can tell you. I mean, whatever comes out at the end of your paintbrush, that's what it is. And
Right.
nobody can judge. I really want to say nobody can judge art, even though they try to and they do. But there are rules to art, and get rid of my cat here. Um, there are rules that you need to follow in art, more or less, in order to make a picture that's pleasing to people's eyes. And but otherwise, it's your work. You decide what it is. And having said that, I just judged an art show this past weekend, and yeah, we had to. And there were pictures that I responded to emotionally that I really loved, but that weren't. I had a co-judge with me, Melissa, my friend Melissa, and we disagreed on some of them because I just had this gut reaction to one of them that she just didn't see because she's more analytical than I am. That's why we worked so well together. But this group was down in Monroe, Michigan, and they were a group of very dedicated artists. So it was a little difficult to judge that, but we did have to judge it by the rules. And so that's what happens.
Now,
Uh,
the art that you're judging and the manner in which you judge it would be,
mhm.
you would look at that differently than you would look at it if you were a consumer or if you're a gallery owner or somebody like that. Is the criteria different?
It's it's half and half. Rules are you have to have a nice presentation. It needs to be well framed. The composition needs to keep the viewer's eye inside the frame by various, ways. And the use of color, the use of materials. The lady that we gave Best in Show to was a colored pencil. And she had pushed, and this is what artists have to do. You have to push the boundaries of your medium and your own abilities. And you have to just keep pushing and keep pushing. And she had accomplished this very well. It was a very nice, beautiful picture. But I wouldn't really want it hanging, I just really didn't want it in my house. I would if she gave it to me. But yeah, and yes, you have to, the answer to your question is yes, you have to be analytical about it, and not necessarily, do you want this in your house? It's just according to the rules.
Yeah, I've noticed that in my world of guitar, there are classical guitar competitions frequently around the world,
Hmm.
and a lot of times the people who win, and even the manner in which they uh, practice in order to win or at least compete, um, is I find that to be really not very pleasing to my ear aesthetically or artistically.
Oh,
They seem to be judged primarily on artist or not artistry, but rather technique. You
right,
know,
right.
getting the notes right, getting them clean, getting loud when you're supposed to, getting soft when you're supposed to, things like that. But rarely do I hear, I mean, it happens, but it's rare that I hear somebody win one of those things uh, and really go on to a very successful performing career. Because a lot of times, uh,
Oh,
what their presentation on stage to the general public is kind of cold, to be honest with you. It's very
okay.
pristine, but it's
Oh, that's
I'd almost rather listen to somebody who's a little loosey-goosey and passionate, and
yes,
so
yes.
and that's some friends of mine. We've kind of complained behind closed doors about such things over the years, but it's not going to change. So,
Well, probably not.
so and you're also doing some still life stuff. I saw a couple of still lifes that you were posting on your site that were really quite. When I think of still life, I'm usually thinking in terms of either a bowl of fruit or a vase full of flowers and yet eggs,
Right.
which I thought was absolutely charming.
I love great eggs. Yes, I have lots of little, and they are little 8 by 8, 10 by 10 pictures.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, that's just once in a while I get in the mood to just do a bunch of of those. They're hanging all over my kitchen right now, in my nephew's kitchen, and but yeah, that interests me as well, still lifes. And I was taught at school by my professor, my painting professor down row, that yeah, not to do that. Just go find something weird and fun, and to put into a still life. And my friend Melissa told me to she said you should do a still life, one that looks like one of the old traditional still lifes, and put a cell phone in there and a bottle of aspirin. And that's a great idea. I might still do that eventually, but yeah.
So
Mhm.
the egg, it's kind of it's a kind of a recurring theme in the art world anyway, in some ways. I mean, we think of Fabergé, for example, the most
Oh yeah.
most obvious. But I lived in Tokyo for a couple of years, and they had some artists over there that they would do miniature carving, and it was startling. I wish I'd bought some when I had the opportunity. And a lot of times it was like an egg, shape of an egg that had been hollowed out with whatever their scene was, and it would be a full scene inside, all carved out of one singular block of wood. And
Uh,
they would actually start with a high quality block of wood, so the grain was gorgeous. It was just everything about it was
yeah.
pretty. And but again, it comes back to that shape of that egg. And a lot of these things were the size of a real egg. They weren't, like ostrich
Right,
eggs or
right.
something. They were
Mm,
egg sized,
yeah.
and they were really quite extraordinary. And but it seems like that's I don't want to say universal. I don't know that I don't know that I'm qualified to make that comment, but it's common enough that I've noticed it in other cultures, And I mean, the Fabergé, of course, everybody wants a Fabergé egg or something, you know. Wouldn't we all, right?
Oh yeah. Each have one.
But but yeah, it just seems to be something special about the shape and what it represents, and
Oh, so organic too. Yeah, it's very organic. I
and
break them up, and my friend Justine down in Chicago has chickens that lay every color egg you can imagine. And I use those in those paintings too, because there's green ones and brown ones and dark brown ones and bronze colored ones and blue ones and so those make interesting, yeah, pictures.
My
And
my sister and her husband have a farm, and when their two daughters were growing up, they had chickens for a while, and it was that same thing. So, and we would get free eggs. Yay.
yeah, I
And
know.
but we'd open up that carton and it was like a rainbow in there. It
Right,
was
right.
kind of fun actually. So
Yeah, of course, yeah. I like
so
it.
so
Raspberry. Go ahead.
the other thing I was going to say that I kind of wanted to get into a little bit are your chemscapes. Can we talk about because that I you spoke about a little bit on the page, and then I saw the photos, and I went, "Wow, those are astonishing." Okay,
I
talk to me
did
about those
too.
a little bit.
Said I said that too. Um, my friend Suzanne there at Olivet College was had a huge. She was in this chemistry department. She's now I'm not sure right now, but um, Olivet College has a huge old chemical closet where they stored all their chemicals all the way back from 1848. It's scary, very scary in there. And I had remembered once a long time ago, I had seen on the cover of a magazine, probably a chemistry magazine, where somebody had photographed chemicals under the microscope. And I told her about it, and this was years and years and years ago. And she said, "Yeah, we can do that." And so we marched down to the to the cave, chemical cave, and she pulled out things that would melt, chemicals that she knew would melt and reform in crystal form. And so I took those down, and it took me almost a year to get anything that was really worth photographing, but I would put them on just put a drop on the on a slide cover, not even a
Uh-huh.
slide cover, and um heat it up on a lab hot plate, which is just very small too. And it would melt. And she made me look up the melting point to each chemical so that I would know how to set the hot plate. And it would melt down, and then it would immediately cool when I took it off from there. And it would be like rime ice on your window in the wintertime. Just designs, beautiful ferny designs and like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and I put the slide under the microscope, and um the microscope that I had polarizing lenses. So the slide covers themselves with the chemical was just white. But if you
Okay.
put it under polarized lens, it would just throw the most incredible colors. And the only thing that I did with them was I could rotate the platform on the microscope, and it would shift the colors.
Oh,
And I would find the ones that I like best, crop them, and and my camera had an adapter that would fit over the eyepiece of a microscope,
microscope.
and then I'd click, 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 put those into my computer. And the first time I actually got something I was so excited. I was running around the chemistry department. Suzanne, look. And we brought students in to look at it and like that. And I just, from there, I knew how to do it then. So I've got probably 100 to 200 photographs that I took through the microscope of different chemicals. Then I branched out to beer and wine,
Oh,
and the beer was really made really great pictures. So did the wine to a lesser extent, but um,
now
and then
Are prints of your work available, or is just the originals only?
The photographs? No,
Any, I'm looking at the entire
oh,
body.
I'm working on getting Printify on my website so that people can just go in and order prints if they want them.
Gotcha.
Printify, Printify, and I'm also deciding whether I want to do it or not. Um, Printify does everything. They frame them if the buyer chooses a frame and a mat and everything, and then they do all of it. I don't have to do anything.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
that
so
stuff should be available. So
pretty soon, yeah,
okay, that'll be cool. So I
yeah.
will excuse me. I will put a link to your website in the descriptions of the the when I post this, and so people can go to your website, and when it becomes available, then they can check it out. I'm assuming. So
I'll hurry up.
so yeah, light a fire under you now. Now you got to do it.
Yeah, what am I gonna do?
So
Now I got it.
so now you
Yeah.
work at a gallery or are a gallery owner also?
No, uh-uh.
Oh, I was thinking that you had some affiliation with a local gallery. That
No,
okay, okay.
no, I do not. I had a gallery in Saugatuck, and he closed down as well. I think I'm bad luck. I might be bad luck. I don't know. Yeah. And he sold a lot of my stuff too. He sold a lot of the insect painting
Oh, really?
portraits. Yeah. And
My wife was a part owner and manager of a gallery and gift shop on Mackinac Island for about 14 years. And
oh my goodness.
so what little bit I know, and emphasis on little bit, what little bit I know is just from conversations with her and how such things work. And so yeah, it's a world that I was totally unaware of and unfamiliar with, and really quite fascinating to me anyway. Just so what's new? What's going on? What's coming up?
The just the I'm still just continuing to work on the landscapes. I asked Adam, how many do you need? And he said 40 of them. I think I have 7 done. I'm not sure. But
And you're sitting here
so that's
talking to me? Really?
I know,
You're gonna get
wasting
cracking.
time. Cracking. Yeah, I'm doing that, and I'm making some small paintings about 11 by 14 of sheep. I love sheep, and these are Icelandic sheep. They have them up there in Charlotte. And I started doing that because I was looking at the sheep, and I thought, if I can paint wool, I bet I can't imagine
Wow.
that I could. And I did. And it looks pretty good. But I
That's
don't have those on my website yet, I don't think.
I, I hadn't noticed them. So yeah, that's got to be a challenge painting wool and making it look what you tend towards the realistic, and that's a whole lot of strands there.
You know, well, that was what is helping me get looser is not I wasn't doing each strand, no. But I could make it look really thick and woolly. And if you think about it in 3D, which is how I have to think about it, I
Uh-huh.
just paint the sheep black first, just solid flat black or dark brown,
Uh-huh.
and then start putting um darker strands, just making darker strands and then lighter and then light. So then it gives it a 3D look so
So
that
it
you
has to
can,
has to be layered to do that. So
yeah, yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense. That makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
That's cool. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that. So, well, believe it or not, Pam, we're out of time. That went by in a hurry, didn't it?
Yeah,
That was such
enjoy
fun.
that.
And
Yeah,
definitely have to have you back on again.
okay.
And so that we can, whoops, hang on a second here.
So I could
And
say, yeah, I got all 40 paintings done.
We'll get you back out. We'll see how that's working out for you.
I got 8 now.
But for now, I'm going to say thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you so much for having me on.
Bye-bye. I'd like to thank Pam for coming on the show, and I want to thank you too for taking the time to listen. If you'd like to keep up with the further adventures of my guests, well, now you can. I have a new weekly blog that will keep you posted on public appearances, new releases, and such. Just go to www.rogerhumphrey.com and then hit the blog tab at the top of the page. Thanks again, and I hope you'll come back real soon and listen to more episodes of Creative Conversations with Roger Humphrey.